While I was showering, my one-night stand picked up my husband's call and mocked him for sleeping W/me. Life can often throw us into unexpected situations, ones that test our limits, morals, and decisions. One such incident, a seemingly innocuous decision, turned into a catastrophic event, altered the course of my life forever. This essay delves into the depths of a personal experience that was both shocking and revealing, one that made me confront my choices and their consequences head-on. It began with an impulsive act, a one-night stand which spiraled out of control when the stranger in my bed picked up a call from my husband and mocked him, setting off a chain reaction that unraveled my life. My husband, or must I say my ex-husband Liam, male 33, and I, female 28, met on one of the dating sites called Tinder. Well, I was bored, single, and needed someone to pass time with, so I decided to create an account on Tinder to find new friends and maybe a potential lover. So as I was scrolling, I saw a lot of handsome guys, but they were not what I had wanted. They didn't meet my expectations. So I continued scrolling up until I was a match with Liam. When I looked at his profile, I saw that he was the person that I would like to get to know and maybe become friends with, who knows. So Liam texted me on Tinder, we started chatting. He was the kind of person that I would want to spend most of my time with. Either we become friends or friends with benefits or just official lovers. I can say he was my dream guy. A week later, we decided to meet at one of the restaurants around here in Arlington called Bay 34, the Street Diner restaurant. When we met, it was like we had known each other for years. He was everything I wanted and needed in a man and more. He made me so happy and felt beautiful. I can actually give him those points of knowing how to make a woman feel better about herself. He would compliment you even if you were in a crusty mood indoors. At first, I had thought he was making me a fool, but each and every day he wouldn't forget to compliment my beauty that boosted my self-esteem. 2 months later, we started dating and everything was a bliss. He still continued to be the person he was the first day we met, and I was falling harder for him every day. Liam was a very romantic guy. He knew how to spoil a woman and make her feel secure. He was too perfect to be true, but because I was blinded by my love for him, I didn't notice anything wrong with how he was. I just loved him for who he was. 3 months later, he proposed and we got married a month later. Everything was happening so fast. I was so sure that I was loved and secured in him. I trusted him with my heart. I loved him even when he was in a bad mood. I bared with him because I was so much in love with this man. But what did he do? He took my love for desperation and for granted. Liam was a soul to keep. Well, that's what I had thought. I thought we would be together till the end of time. Our first few years in our marriage were a dream. I mean, we were the couple that most others only fantasize about. I thought that was how we were going to be for the rest of our lives. We used to go out on dates on random days and visit different places. Liam had a construction company that only dealt with building malls, campuses, stadiums, etc. I think it's called civil construction, if I'm not mistaken. He had a lot of free time in his life, and I enjoyed every moment that I would spend with him. My love for my husband kept increasing, not knowing that I was actually in love alone. We were actually using my love to make our relationship survive. As much as that was hurting me so much, and it still does hurt me because I had given the relationship and marriage my all. You know, Liam was a very handsome guy and ladies loved him. I would sometimes get a glimpse of jealousy and insecurity whenever girls greet him and make him some signs that I didn't know about. My husband Liam was a womanizer or a ladies' man. Well, that's how I had found him. I was glad that he came clean even before we started dating, that he loved ladies and ladies loved him. So I shouldn't get angry or jealous when we come across ladies that would randomly greet him. Before we started dating, Liam had about 2 or 3 girlfriends. That's what I had figured out when we were still in the friend zone. I wondered how he handles so many girlfriends while only one girl is a headache enough. I had seen that on my brother. When we started dating, he broke up with the ladies that he was dating. Well, that was what he told me, so I would be in a relationship with him. He told me that he saw a potential in me and he saw a wife, a person who can warm up his home and bed, a person who he wanted to build a family with. He had told me everything that my heart and ears wanted to hear and believe. But there was one thing that he had never said. The 3 magical words were the words that he had never uttered with his mouth directed to me. My husband and I had started with our family planning. We had gone to the doctor to check if we were both fertile. I won't lie and say Liam's intimate drive was on point 100 because it wasn't. Sometimes I would be dissatisfied by our intimate moments. You know when someone denies you your favorite sweet or chocolate, you get angry and irritated, right? That was how Liam was doing to me. He would sometimes deny me a chance to release and reach the climax also, and it was really irritating and annoying. Days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months. Liam and I were still at it, still loving each other, or let me say, still loving him. But he started changing. He became distant, coming home later than he usually did. Sometimes he would sleep out and not come back home at all. The first 2 weeks I had seen the changes, but I brushed it off because I had thought maybe he was busy at work since they had a very big project of building a football stadium. I was so proud, and I'm still proud of him for all the achievements that he had. His behavior started off randomly, and I ignored everything because as a good wife that I was, I couldn't question my husband, especially when he was dealing with a stressful project. But the behavior kept continuing until it was a norm for him to either not come back home or come back late at night and way after dinner time. I tried addressing the issue because it was really affecting me emotionally, and even our intimate moments were no longer the same. Sure, he would deny me some cloud-9 feeling, but I still needed him to make love to me like he normally does. His behavior was even affecting our conceiving period because we were no longer intimate during my ovulation days since he would be out somewhere, where Liam and only God knew. I called him on his phone and it didn't go through, so I decided to call the office number and I was told that he was not in, which confused me because he was supposed to be at work. So I just left him a text and asked him to be back home earlier. To my fortune, it looked like he had seen the text because he came back earlier than his usual time. So during dinner, I had decided to address the underlying issue that we were facing. Well, more like that I was facing because it only affected me. I told him my dislikes in our marriage and in our relationship. I told him about the changes that had taken place. One thing about Liam is that if you speak to him, he listens attentively without disturbing you. He waits for you to finish, then he replies to whatever that you had said. I told him everything that I was feeling and even told him how much it was affecting our process of having a child. I know that he was always busy at work, but that didn't mean that he should forget about his wife and his duties as a husband. I mean, he was the one who came with the idea of us starting our mini family, so I was not expecting him to be the one to back down on our plan. He can't leave me hanging and make me a house furnisher. Instead of him to humble himself, he just said, "I hear you, can you imagine?" I asked him to at least tell me what was going on because I didn't know nor understand what was really happening in our marriage and in our relationship. Liam told me that he would try and change the way he does things, but he doesn't promise that things would go back to the way they were before. His words were not promising and kind of hurtful. But what did I expect from someone who never even once told me that he loved me? Time passed, I got tired of waiting for Liam to change and for things to go back to how they were before. I needed to be myself again, and maybe Liam would come back to his senses and come back home. I decided to just transform myself and go out on solo dates. I couldn't wait for Liam anymore. I knew that I had to stand up and stop being a house room divider and start living like a normal person. So I would go to different restaurants to have either a solo lunch or breakfast. The outings that I did were refreshing and mind-relaxing. I knew that as much as Liam was absent and was no longer the husband that I loved, he had become a douchebag for no reason, and he was not even remorseful about it. His pride and ego was running through his veins, and it would sometimes make him look arrogant. One day I decided to just go out on a Friday night. The house was boring and gloomy without Liam, so I needed to get myself out and have fun for once. Liam and I had stopped going out to have fun when we were like 6 or 7 months since we got married. Liam started acting like those boring old husbands that want to control everything and everyone. I went to the nightclub. When I got there, it was actually an event type of thing, so it was packed. I went in and already I was feeling myself. I felt like the old Mahalia, my name, was back, and I was living the life that I had wanted in my own way. Since then, I knew that I was the chief executive officer, CEO of my life, and I should never wait for someone's validation to feel myself and do what makes me happy. I had forgotten about my marital problems, and Liam, I was just free. As I was still enjoying my night, I kept ordering drinks and enjoying the music that was playing. I was approached by a guy named Paul. He introduced himself as Paul McCord, male 29. This Paul guy was very handsome, though he was not handsome like my husband Liam, but he was handsome that I could give him. He asked if he could join me since he had also come alone. I agreed for him to join since I was starting to get bored, busy watching people drinking and dancing with their partners while mine was in a never-known place. Paul was such a gentleman and he was very funny. He made my night unforgettable. He made me think about Liam for some moments, and I was enjoying his company so much. I found out that he was a construction worker. Well, he was a surveyor, meaning he was looking after employees when his boss was not in. Mind you, that time I didn't know that he was actually Liam's employee. The drinks and conversation kept flowing between Paul and I. I drank until I got tipsy. And one thing I don't like about myself when I drink too much alcohol is that I would get a desire to have some intimacy. I don't know why that was happening to me. I would enjoy it at first because it would happen when I was with Liam, and that time it happened when I was with a total stranger. I tried holding and containing myself to a point that I would go to the restroom and help myself with my hand, but it didn't give me what I had wanted. So I went back to where I was sitting with Paul, and we continued talking. He was also tipsy, so I told him that I needed to be home. He asked why I was leaving because the night was still young. I told him that I had a husband waiting for me at home. He convinced me till I gave in and decided to stay. In my mind, I was like, enjoying myself for once wouldn't hurt nor hurt my marriage because my husband is the one who made me go out without him. Liam's behavior was really stressing me out to a point that I would sleep with a bottle of wine and some snacks when I was home. The way the house felt so empty and lonely, I was slowly falling into a depression state. My emotions were all over and I didn't know what I should do or where I should go or who I should call and vent to. Paul was there, and as I was busy drinking and dancing, Paul came to join me on the dance floor and we danced like we knew how to. Paul then told me that it was past midnight. We should head out since the club was also closing. He told me that his apartment was not far from the nightclub, so we should move our mini party to his apartment. Without even thinking, I bluntly agreed to go with him. When we got to his apartment, everything happened so fast. One minute we were talking and laughing, another thing I found myself venting on him. I had told the stranger about my marital problems and the issues that I was facing at home. As I was venting and crying, Paul was busy consoling me, and another thing led to another. I didn't mean it to happen. It was a moment of weakness. I know I shouldn't have gone with Paul to his apartment, but I did. I kissed Paul and his lips were so soft. His touch was electrifying and magical. As we were kissing like that, we ended up getting it down on the couch. We made out on the couch. This Paul guy knew how to explore a woman's body. I felt something that I had never felt before. He made me feel like I was in space dancing with the aliens. He took me from cloud 0 to cloud 9 so fast. I had made sure that he wore protection because I didn't want any unexpected pregnancies or diseases. I really enjoyed the intimate moment that I had with Paul. He made me feel some type of way that I had never felt before. Liam was making me feel good. He knew how to explore my body, but he failed to take me to cloud 9. I woke up the following morning with a very bad headache. I got the shock of my life when my mind came back, and the event that had taken place the previous night came like a flood. I regretted everything. I got so scared that I had slept with a stranger, and that same stranger left me in his supposed apartment. One thing I was grateful for was that he had left me a hangover remedy. He left a note saying that he was going to work. There was an important and urgent meeting. I didn't understand why he would tell me that. So I put the note aside and took the remedy. As much as it was bitter and bad, but it did do some work. After drinking it as fast as I could to numb the banging headache that I had, I decided to take a quick shower before heading back home. So as I was showering, I had left my phone on top of Paul's bed. We all know that the showers make noise. You can't even hear someone calling you unless they are close by. I didn't think my husband would call because most of the time we would communicate through text messages. It was just rare for him to give me a call, no matter how urgent the situation would be. So when I came out of the shower, I found Paul speaking with a phone like he was having a heated argument with that person. The thing that I remember him saying, "What are you going to do? It's not like you pay us millions." Then he continued saying, "It's payback time, Liam. You thought you were going to do as you please and play God with our lives while you don't even pay us a lot of money. Yes, I slept with your wife. She spent the night with me and enjoyed her, and she's so nice." I then realized that he was actually speaking about me. The way he had wings and pride that he slept with me made me think that he slept with me because he wanted to get back at my husband, or I was used as bait in all of this. I felt so stupid. I then thought of looking for my phone, only to find out that Paul was actually using my phone to call Liam by name. I have never been so disgusted and enraged like that in my life. I quickly snatched the phone and switched it off. Paul really ruined me and my marriage. I mean, how one person can be so cruel. If he had a problem with my husband, he should have called him with his phone or dealt with him at work. I didn't understand why I was used as a pawn in all of this. Sure, I was wrong for going against my wedding vows and did the ungodly, but Paul didn't have the right to speak to my husband like he did. 1 week later, something I had never expected happened, and it destroyed a lot of things. Liam and I were on civil terms, but things were no longer the same, even though he tried coming home more often. So one sunny morning, he asked me to prepare some snacks for him as his colleagues or employees would be coming over since they had to go through the stadium project. The afternoon came and Liam came back with his employees. Well, they had arrived when I was in the kitchen preparing some refreshments for them. So when I took the refreshments and took them to the sitting room where they were sitting, discussing whatever they were discussing, I greeted the guest and I got the shock of my life. Paul was one of Liam's employees, but how did I miss it because Liam's construction company was the only one working on the stadium project? Another thing I had thought was that he had fired or dismissed Paul after what he did. I was not expecting to see him at all. My heart started beating outside my ribcage. I was so scared, like I don't know what I was scared of, but I was extremely scared of the unknown. I decided to leave them and went to the kitchen to start with dinner preparations. As I was busy gathering the ingredients, Paul came in returning the glasses and everything that they were using. I asked Paul what he was doing in my house, which was a very dumb question to ask a person. The guy had the nerve to tell me that he enjoyed what we had done that night. He told me that he wished he could take back that day. I then told him that he should leave me alone and what had happened between us that Friday night was a mistake that I regret. So I asked him to keep his voice down because I didn't want Liam to hear what we were talking about, not knowing that it was actually too late and Liam had already heard what Paul and I were talking about. Mind you, that time I was praying day and night for Liam to not ask me anything about the time he called my phone, and it was answered by Paul, and my prayers got answers, but only for a short time. Later that day, Liam asked to speak with me, so I gave him a go-ahead. He then told me that he had heard my conversation with Paul and asked why I had slept with him. He even gave me an ultimatum to not lie because he had every evidence from the phone call that was supposed to be answered by me to the video of us making out. I didn't know what to say, so I just denied what he was saying. Then he showed me the video where I was in Paul's apartment. I didn't know what to do, so I started defending myself and told him that he was the one who pushed me into another man's arms because of his behavior. We argued a lot to a point that he actually confessed that he had never loved me. I couldn't believe his words. They made my mouth dry with no words to utter. He repeated that he never loved me and he married me because he was lonely, not because he loved me. I was so shattered, my heart was torn apart. My world came crumbling down. I felt so lost and alone. His words were ringing in my ears. Mind you, that time I wanted to share the news of my pregnancy to him, but since things had taken another rough turn. Yes, I was pregnant with Liam's child. Well, I didn't know up until after the night that I had spent with Paul. After what he did, I had to go to the clinic and check if he didn't infect me with anything because it showed that he was fighting his battles using me as a pawn. So I found myself at the end of a dangerous road. I wished I had done things differently, but it was too late to rectify my wrongs, and I was the one to be blamed for that. I didn't even bother trying to get any psychic help. I decided to grieve for my marriage. Till today, I don't know what to do and how to heal so that I would be able to move on. I'm still shuttered. Please help me, rabbits. What do I do in this situation? How do I move on from this? I feel lost and broken without Liam, and another thing, I still love him. Is that even normal?